There is something deeply human about our longing for miracles. Not just the kind that part seas or raise the dead, but the quiet, personal kind, the kind that meets us in the middle of our fear, our uncertainty, our longing for something more. We hope, sometimes silently, that there is a power greater than what we see, a presence that can step into our lives and gently change the course of things. The Bible is filled with miracles. But more than that, it is filled with moments where heaven touches earth, where the unseen becomes visible, and where love reveals itself in ways that cannot be explained, only felt. And when we look closely, we begin to understand that miracles are not simply displays of power. They are expressions of love. They are reminders that God is near. They are whispers that say, even in the darkest moments, you are not alone. From the very beginning, the first miracle is creation itself. Out of nothing, God speaks, and something comes into being. Light bursts into existence. The sky stretches wide. The earth takes form, and life begins to bloom in endless variety. This is not a cold or distant act. It is intentional, careful, almost tender. Creation is not just power, it is artistry. It is love made visible. And at the center of it all, humanity is formed. Not by accident, but by design. Not as an afterthought, but as a reflection of the Creator. The breath of life itself is given, and in that moment, humanity becomes something more than physical. We become known. We become loved. And even when that relationship is broken, even when humanity turns away, the miracles do not stop. They change. They become something else. They become rescue. In a world growing heavy with violence and sorrow, there comes a moment when God sends a flood, not simply as judgment, but as a reset, a chance for something new to begin. And within that storm, there is a miracle of preservation. Noah and his family are carried safely through the waters. It is a quiet reminder that even in the midst of overwhelming change, God holds on to what matters. He protects. He remembers. He restores. Later, we see a different kind of miracle unfold, not one of survival, but of promise. A man named Abraham is told that he will have a child, that his family will grow into a great nation. But there is a problem. Time passes. Years go by. And still, the promise seems impossible. Yet God does not forget. And in a moment that feels both surprising and deeply personal, the miracle happens. A child is born where there was once only waiting. This is the nature of many miracles in the Bible. They arrive not when everything makes sense, but when hope feels stretched thin. They remind us that timing is not always what we expect, but it is always purposeful. As the story continues, the miracles begin to take on a new shape. They become acts of deliverance. The people of Israel find themselves in bondage, oppressed and weary. Their cries rise up, and once again, God responds. Through Moses, miracles begin to unfold, each one a step toward freedom. The waters of the Nile turn to blood. Darkness covers the land. And finally, the sea itself parts. It is one of the most powerful images in all of Scripture, walls of water standing on either side, a path opening where none existed before. But even here, the miracle is not just about power. It is about making a way. It is about leading people out of what holds them captive and into something new. And this pattern continues. In the wilderness, where resources are scarce and uncertainty is constant, God provides. Bread appears in the morning. Water flows from rock. Guidance comes in the form of a cloud by day and fire by night. These are not just dramatic moments. They are daily reminders that even in places of waiting, God sustains. Even in uncertainty, He provides enough. As time goes on, miracles continue to appear in different forms. Through prophets, through unexpected moments, through quiet interventions that change the course of lives. A widow finds her oil never runs dry. A child is brought back to life. A man is healed of leprosy. Each miracle is different, yet they all carry the same message. God sees. God cares. God acts. And then, the story reaches its most profound expression of miracles in the life of Jesus. With Him, miracles become deeply personal. They are no longer distant or symbolic, they are immediate, intimate, and full of compassion. Jesus does not perform miracles to impress. He performs them to heal, to restore, to love. A blind man receives his sight, but more than that, he is seen. A woman who has been suffering for years is healed, but more than that, she is acknowledged, valued, restored to dignity. A storm is calmed, But more than that, fear is replaced with peace. Every miracle carries a deeper layer. It speaks not just to the physical need, but to the heart. There is a moment where thousands are gathered, hungry and uncertain. A small offering is brought forward, just a few loaves and fish. It is not enough. And yet, in the hands of Jesus, it becomes more than enough. The crowd is fed. And there is still abundance left over. This is the nature of miracles. They take what is small, what feels insufficient, and they transform it into something overflowing. They remind us that what we have, when placed in the hands of love, becomes something greater. There are also moments of quiet miracles. Moments that could easily be overlooked. A conversation at a well. A word spoken to someone who feels unseen. A touch that brings comfort rather than spectacle. These moments matter just as much. Because miracles are not always loud. Sometimes they are gentle. Sometimes they are a shift in the heart. A realization. A healing that cannot be measured, but can be felt deeply. And then, there is the greatest miracle of all. Not one of healing or provision, but of transformation. The cross. At first glance, it does not look like a miracle. It looks like loss. Like suffering. Like the end of hope. But within that moment, something extraordinary is taking place. Love is choosing to remain. Love is choosing to endure. Love is choosing to give everything. And in doing so, it creates a bridge where there was once separation. Then comes the resurrection. A moment that redefines everything. Life emerging from death. Hope rising where despair once stood. It is not just a miracle, it is a promise. A promise that endings are not always final. That what seems lost can be restored. That there is always more to the story. And as the story continues, miracles do not disappear. They continue through the lives of those who believe. Not always in dramatic ways, but in ways that are just as meaningful. Hearts changed. Lives redirected. Hope renewed. Because in the end, miracles are not just events. They are encounters. Moments where the presence of God becomes real in a way that cannot be ignored. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is this. Miracles are not limited to the past. They are not confined to pages or stories. They continue. In quiet ways. In unexpected ways. In ways that often go unnoticed unless we pause long enough to see them. A moment of peace in the middle of chaos. A sense of comfort when everything feels uncertain. A door opening where none seemed possible. A heart healing, slowly but surely. These are miracles too. They may not part seas or stop storms, but they carry the same essence. They remind us that God is still present. Still working. Still loving. And so, as we reflect on the miracles of the Bible, we begin to see them differently. Not just as extraordinary moments in history, but as reflections of a deeper truth. That love is active. That grace is real. That we are not alone. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest miracle is not something we witness from a distance, but something we experience. The miracle of being known. Of being loved. Of being held, even when we do not realize it. Because in the end, miracles are not about spectacle. They are about connection. They are about a God who reaches into the ordinary and makes it meaningful. Who steps into the broken and begins to restore. Who meets us where we are, and gently leads us toward something more. And that is a miracle that never stops.